Welcome to Whisper and Wonder, where soft stories meet soft voices. You're listening to Hello, How Long Has This Been Going On? Episode 7. Let's begin. After his shower, fresh and cozy in bed, Tao Jay felt sleep slowly wrap around him. A quiet, firm thought passed through his mind, carrying him into dreams. Please let tomorrow pass without running into anything, or anyone, connected to Huo Ryan. In another city, Huo Ryan had just survived one of the busiest days of his life. He was jolted awake early in the morning by a call from Huo Jason, who told him that a few old friends were dropping by the office and asked him to come play host. Originally planning to skip work and sleep in, Huo Ryan resigned himself to his fate and dutifully made his way to the company. The night before, he'd visited Dr. Dao's little island in the game and noticed it had grown desolate, clearly. Dr. Dao hadn't logged in for a while. Seeing the tiny hedgehog avatar struggling with a hoe, Huo Ryan immediately volunteered to help. Together, the large brown bear and the small hedgehog worked until midnight, gradually bringing the island back to life. Huo Ryan hadn't been playing this game long, still enjoying the solo base building mechanics. He had only one friend added, Huo Sophie. This was the first time he'd ever co-built an island with someone. The big bear was swinging his axe to chop trees, stamina nearly depleted, when the little hedgehog came over and handed him a stamina-boosting fruit. It was a strangely heartwarming moment. For the first time, Huo Ryan understood why this multiplayer mode appealed to so many players. After Dr. Dao logged off to sleep, Huo Ryan, still riding the high, pulled up a post that had gone viral when Happy Animal Island first blew up. Huo Sophie had sent him the link when she'd been trying to lure him into the game. There were tens of thousands of comments beneath it. The most liked ones shared personal in-game stories, some hilarious, most profoundly tender. Mesmerized, Huo Ryan followed the comment thread to the game's official forum and dived into the creative corner, where all sorts of fanworks bloomed in vivid expression. Immersed, he clicked from one page to the next, one story to another, when he finally snapped out of it. Glancing at the time on the corner of his screen, it was already 4 a.m. Not being a night owl, he quickly shut his laptop and collapsed into bed. Half asleep, he still found himself thinking about that unfinished forum thread. With only 3 hours of sleep, Huo Ryan showed up at work with dark circles under his eyes. Ignored the scheduled bouquet of roses on his desk, responded calmly to assistant Zhang Nason's cheerful greeting, and followed Huo Jason around, exchanging pleasantries with a few uncles while graciously accepting their compliments about the younger generation. Running on fumes, he felt like a warrior forged by life. When the company tour was over, Huo Jason took his friends elsewhere, and Huo Ryan could finally breathe. Since I'm already here, might as well sit in on a few meetings. The previous night had opened his eyes. Until then, he had underestimated the emotional pull of virtual worlds. He used to think games were just for killing time. But Dr. Dao, and so many others, weren't just playing. They were investing, making friends, even falling in love. They were learning seemingly useless knowledge and picking up obscure skills. Some even stumbled into unexpected life opportunities. It was wrong to write off passionate players as addicts. Many of them were simply living a second life in another world. Eventually, they might say goodbye to the game, but they would never forget the traces they left behind, marks that could change their real lives. If movies are a one-way dream, Huo Ryan thought, then games, with their interactivity, are dreams you can walk into. So before leaving for Jinbei, he summoned the company's newly formed game development team. He wanted a crash course, straight from the pros. It turned out Huo Jason's aggressive push to invest in emerging game companies had been his bid to break into this booming, tech-driven frontier. Stepping into the meeting room, many team members saw the legendary heir for the first time. They barely had time to register his reputation before his rapid-fire questions swept them into discussion. By the end of the afternoon, the team was mentally drained. Whatever envy or skepticism they had initially felt had been obliterated by a single thought. No wonder he's Huo Jason's son. On the way to the airport, Huo Ryan sat in the back of a stretched limo. His mind was buzzing with new ideas. He leaned back, eyes open, utterly alert. Amid the flood of thoughts, his focus slipped. That thread last night, Did Lop Bunny ever get together with her neighbor Titmouse? He hadn't finished reading. It was driving him crazy. Digging into his pocket, he pulled out a clunky, outdated button phone. It looked wildly out of place in the sleek car. But he tried to use it to access the official Happy Animal Island forum anyway. The phone's software was ancient. The company that made it had gone under years ago. And the built-in browser couldn't handle modern web formats. The forum wouldn't load, just a blank page. Even more curious now, Huo Ryan felt like 100 cats were clawing at his brain. Across from him, Jong Nasan noticed and offered his phone. "Mr. Huo, would you like to borrow mine?" Huo Ryan glanced at his still normal-looking complexion and politely declined. "No need, just browsing." Jong looked a little disappointed but still tried. "Mr. Huo, wouldn't you consider upgrading your phone? It's really outdated. I could have a new one delivered to the airport right away." Huo Ryan paused for a beat. "I'll just close my eyes for a bit. Wake me when we get there." He wasn't ready yet. To others, his hesitance over such a small thing might have seemed strange. But for Huo Ryan, it wasn't just about a phone. It was about a habit he had clung to for 10 years. A quiet rebellion against a father who had once buried himself so deeply in work he forgot his own family. Eventually, Huo Jason did change. He started making time for his children. Stopped ruling with an iron fist. Those rigid words had once sounded like care. But they were the easiest form of dismissal, and the kind that left lasting scars. Back then, Huo Ryan and Huo Sophie were still young. They just thought their father was strict and careless. Their mother, however, who had endured it longer, had reached her breaking point. Not long after Huo Ryan came of age, the marriage ended, so the phone remained, an out-of-place relic, a stubborn symbol of his past. He hadn't been able to let it go. At 8 p.m., the plane landed. Huo Ryan had caught up on some sleep mid-flight. His dark circles had faded. He rolled down the car window to take in Jinbei's nightscape. Neon lights, busy streets, smoky night markets, grilled skewers and fried rice scented the breeze. He'd been to many cities, both in and out of the country. But this was his first time in Jinbei. From the front seat, Jong Nasan looked up from his phone. Surprised, Mr. Huo Sr. just posted a status update. He handed the phone over. Marveling, "I thought he only used it for messaging." Huo Ryan took the phone carefully, avoiding even the slightest brush with Yang's hand. He knew the assistant might blush for an hour. Status, enough and happy. Friends from afar. Photo. One photo was of a lavish dinner. The other showed Huo Jason with the uncles from earlier. Arms slung around shoulders. Faces flushed with drink. His white streaked hair and wrinkled smile gave him a boyish charm. Most users on this platform were young, older folks preferred simpler messaging apps. Jong said, "No wonder Mr. Huo is so successful. He's always in touch with what the younger generation is doing. My parents won't even try this app. They say it's too complicated." No one could have guessed that Huo Jason joined this app just to get his son to upgrade his phone. Watching Yang's admiring expression, Huo Ryan smirked silently. At the hotel, Huo Ryan rushed to his room, itching to check on Lop Bunny and Titmouse's thread. He also hadn't had a chance to chat with Dr. Tao all day. Hopefully, the doctor was in better spirits. He logged in and messaged, "HR, Dr. Tao. I just got to Jinbei. Just settled in. The weather's lovely here." Right then, a reply popped up. "Tao, I brought some of my homemade snacks to the office today. Tomorrow, I'll take a big step at work. It's scary leaving my comfort zone. And I keep wondering if it's the right choice. But after taking the leap, I felt freer. I think I made the right call. Tao, thanks again for what you said last night. They chatted briefly before Dr. Tao said goodnight. But Huo Ryan sat there, staring at the screen long after the messages ended. He didn't know what Dr. Tao looked like or what kind of life he lived. But from the very beginning, he'd felt that this was someone brave. Sure enough, even someone like Dr. Tao could feel lost. But with just a little nudge, he could find the strength to face the very things he used to run from. Huo Ryan's gaze drifted to his 10-year-old flip phone on the table. Its paint was worn, the colors faded. It had been the symbol of his quiet rebellion, but it wasn't his burden alone. With a deep breath, he picked up the room phone and called the concierge. 20 minutes later, A new smartphone had been delivered. He popped in his SIM card, booted it up, and downloaded the app. As he waited, he tried again, and this time, the Happy Animal Island forum loaded without a hitch. The latest post was from Lop Bunny. She had uploaded a photo of a new treehouse she built with Titmouse. No caption, but there were two cozy nests in the picture, one filled with carrots, the other stacked with thick branches. As Huo Ryan scrolled through the flood of delighted replies, a smile tugged at his lips. Dr. Tao was right, he really did feel happier. Opening the app's feed, Huo Ryan gave Enough and Happy's post a like. A few minutes later, a message arrived. Enough and Happy, you at the hotel? HR, been here a while. HR, you've been drinking, why are you still awake? Enough and Happy, drank too much. Out for some air. HR, guess what I'm using to text you? Huo Jason's reply took a while. He probably rewrote it several times before settling on just one lonely emoji. Enough and Happy, thumbs up. It was so very him. Huo Ryan replied in kind. HR, handshake. Enough and Happy, fist bump. Looking at the goofy string of default emojis, Huo Ryan suddenly had an idea. HR, Dad, I'm setting an example. Shouldn't you try keeping up with the trends? Enough and Happy, what trends? HR, young people love using stickers now. Makes you seem cool and friendly. HR, long press a picture. Then tap the heart to save it as a sticker. Easy. HR, here, take this. Sending flowers.jpg. HR, see? Wouldn't it be nicer if you praised me with something this cute instead of a thumbs up? I'd be much happier. Enough and Happy, so flashy. Failing to convert his old school dad, Huo Ryan reluctantly put down the new phone and headed to the shower. Can't get carried away, he reminded himself. Big day tomorrow. When he returned, hair damp, sleep tugging at his eyes, he grabbed the phone to plug it in. The screen lit up. 5 minutes ago, a new message had arrived. Enough and Happy. Sending flowers.jpg. Ellipsis. Tuesday. Jinbei City Exhibition Center. Even though it was a workday, the entrance to the exhibition center was packed with people. The surrounding streets were jammed, traffic crawling at a snail's pace, with horns blaring in frustration. Tao Jay, in his previous life, had lived in one of the country's cultural hubs. Year-round, there were always exhibitions and entertainment events. And during holidays, he would occasionally visit the ones that piqued his interest, so he had a bit of experience navigating the chaos. He got off the bus a stop early and strolled slowly toward the venue with his backpack on. The line of cars had only inched forward about 100 meters. The air was buzzing with voices. Excitement lit up the faces of the crowd. Among them were cosplayers dressed as characters from popular games, weaving through groups of fans. Some were snapping photos on their phones, while others carried bulky professional cameras, their shutters clicking non-stop. Tao Jay adjusted the mask on his face, making sure it was properly in place before stepping into the regular audience line. He stood there quietly, waiting to enter. After living alone for so long, being surrounded by such a dense sea of people felt almost foreign. In front of him were two energetic girls chatting away. Where should we go first? Hall A1, they've got the Rose War demo. I've been dying to try it. Is that the one with the beautiful graphics and all the adorable girl characters? Yep, I pre-registered for the open beta with a bunch of my girlfriends. Not sure if we'll get a spot to demo it today though. I heard people waited in line for 8 hours last year and still didn't make it. QAQ. Believe in yourself, you'll get in. Oh my gosh, look, that cosplayer dressed as Yusa is so stunning. Gorgeous and fierce. Over to the left, drawn by instinct, Tao Jay glanced over. The cosplayer had a bold Western-style makeup look, tight combat gear, and yes, she really was striking. One of the girls, the one with short hair, happened to catch Tao Jay glancing and quickly nudged her friend. Look behind us, that guy's so cute. Let me see, he's wearing a mask. How can you even tell? Shush, he might hear us. She lowered her voice, her excitement bubbling through anyway. His eyes are so pretty. There's no way he's not handsome. I really want to see his full face. Tao Jay heard that last part too. He felt a bit self-conscious. Thankfully, the mask helped hide his expression, otherwise, he might have blushed on the spot. When Tao Jay had first found himself in this novel world, He noticed in the mirror that this body looked just like his younger self. Even the tiniest physical details matched, as though he had arrived here in both body and soul. That uncanny familiarity had helped him accept the absurdity of transmigrating into a book. If he'd woken up in a stranger's body after death, he might have gone into cardiac arrest then and there. In his past life, he had worked tirelessly, neglecting his appearance. Every day he wore the standard programmer's uniform, plaid shirts, and the heavy workload eventually ruined his eyesight. He ended up in thick black-rimmed glasses and messy hair. Occasionally, a female coworker would tease that he was wasting a good-looking face. But he always brushed it off as a joke. After facing death and waking up again, Tao Jay chose to continue living simply and quietly. And yet, something had shifted. He used to think, "The face reflects the heart," was just a cliché. But these days, when he looked in the mirror while washing his face in the morning, the person staring back felt strangely unfamiliar. Same bones, same features, yet somehow, he looked like a completely different man. Still, with a limited social circle, he rarely heard people comment on his looks. When coworkers complimented him, he assumed they were being polite, probably more impressed by his skills than his face. Some women from neighboring companies had invited him out before, but he'd always turned them down politely. The invitations stopped soon after. So hearing girls around his own age gush so openly was unfamiliar. Even a little awkward. His ears grew warm as he unconsciously touched them. The two girls noticed and tugged excitedly at each other's sleeves, barely able to contain themselves. Seeing this, Tao Jay quickly looked down, pulling out his phone to act busy, pretending he hadn't heard a word. Just then, he noticed an unread message from Big Bro HR sent about 30 minutes earlier. The noise on the way had drowned out the notification. Big Bro HR, Dr. Tao. I made a really important decision last night. I'd been struggling with it for a long time. Big Bro HR, like you said, once you take that step forward, you'll really feel happier. I think this decision is the right one. Part of me even regrets not making the change sooner. Big Bro HR, I'm just so glad I met you. Tao Jay froze for a moment, his finger hovering over the screen as a quiet warmth crept into his chest. Tao, I feel the same way. Carrot. I'm glad I met you too. Tao Jay had always been reserved with his emotions. It was hard for him to express things so directly. Unlike Big Bro Hour, he admired that about him. As he read the message, the girls in front of him raised their voices again. Hey, why are those people over there allowed to just walk in without lining up? That's probably a special entrance for exhibitors and staff. Oh, I thought they were already inside. Wait, look at that guy in the suit. He's so tall. Even from behind, he looks amazing. Girl, be serious, that aura? No way, he's just a staff member. He's definitely some big shot from a gaming company. The special entrance was near the audience queue, just separated by a short stretch. The contrast was stark. The audience line stretched forever, while the special entrance had barely anyone. Hearing gaming company, Tao Jay couldn't help but glance over out of curiosity. The man the girls were talking about stood tall and striking, with an assistant-like figure beside him. Among the crowd, he was unmistakable. As he walked closer, Tao Jay could finally see his side profile, though like himself. The man wore a mask. Still, Tao Jay agreed with the girls, just from his eyes. You could tell he was handsome. At the entrance, the assistant stepped up to speak with staff, and the suited man stopped, absorbed in his phone. His strong, sharp features were softened by a look of quiet focus. He seemed deep in thought. Then, whatever he was thinking seemed to click. A smile touched his eyes, his whole demeanor growing gentler. The short-haired girl in front squealed, hands on her cheeks. What's with today? It's raining hot mask guys. All around, the crowd surged and chatter filled the air. And yet, Ryan, standing still, sensed something. He turned his head. Among the unfamiliar faces and noise, his gaze landed immediately on a pair of clear, bright eyes, and suddenly, the world around him fell silent. The stranger's gaze was calm, steady. Beneath it lay something unshakable. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Hello. How long has this been going on? If this story made you smile, feel, or pause, consider subscribing to Whisper and Wonder. New episodes every week. Until next time, stay soft. And keep wondering.